Ransomware. Not exactly something you want on your computer, right? For those who don't know, ransomware is a type of malware, a computer virus, that encrypts data on your computer until you pay someone, usually the creator or creators. In simple terms, it holds your data hostage, making it unusable before you pay for a key or service only the creators have access to get your stuff back. I've been fascinated with malware like this since high school, when I'd watch virus tests done by DenoOct1. But somewhat recently, ransomware has broken out of the sphere of tech nerds through an odd set of circumstances, starting with Five Nights at Freddy's. I think it was around the beginning of 2024 that a strange video appeared on YouTube. Unfortunately, the original is no longer up. It was taken down by YouTube for a TOS violation. They probably thought it was linking to actual malware or something. The video depicted someone excitedly declaring via screen-recorded notepad they had found a free version of FNAF 1. They then start the game to show it off, and things do not look right in the slightest. A deformed Freddy graces the screen, accompanied by botched grammar before the title screen appears, similar awful graphic design on display. Throughout the experience, that continues. The cams are all screwed up, at least the only cam you can use is, and you only get about 30 seconds of this awesome noise before another gross Freddy screams in your face. Then throws a few bits of text at you about how you should pay for the game now with the links provided, alongside a few Bible verses. Convenient now that the rapture has come and gone, huh? The computer then restarts itself with a hilarious shattered screen graphic and comes back with a final Freddy and a load of text about how you're a nasty pirate who has run afoul of a vigilante ransomware group that fights against game pirates by infecting their computers. Is the goal here to get money so that they can go and buy the copy of FNAF 1 that you didn't? I guess that's noble, but also sort of illegal. Anyway, that's the origin of the trend, a creepy video of a non-existent FNAF ransomware. I believe everything started with people trying to recreate the game in harmless playable form, and then with new hoaxes about other lost infected FNAF games such as FNAF 2's Stingray Edition, which still isn't proven to exist, but my friend Gavin's got a good video on it I recommend watching if you're interested in learning more. Finally, it came to a head with the release of a FNAF fan game titled Graveyard Shift at Freddy's, which took the ransomware aesthetic and built an entire original experience off of it, featuring the FNAF 1 pizzeria of a macabre alternate universe where the animatronics trapped within the walls are disturbingly organic alongside their sentience. And I'm not covering it in this video. Why? Well, number one, this game is hard. I think all I need to say is that you can't control the cameras, they just scroll on their own. Yet, there are multiple animatronics that require the cameras, either making you stare them down or not let the camera flip while they're present to stop their movement. I want to break that stupid little snake over my knee like a broom. Reason number two is that it's actually been taken down off GameJolt, replaced with an in-progress version 2. I don't think it's fair to review a game's old version while I know it's actively being improved. And a little reason number three is that it's too popular. There's a bunch of videos talking about it already. What about some lesser-known faces that came after? That's what I'm curious about. So I've picked out 3 good-looking ransomware-inspired FNAF fan games to check out and review to the best of my ability. Time to throw away everything we know about computer safety.
Hi guys! I've been invited to participate in a race across the worlds, but over all these racers, I can't see the end of the horizon. Hatsune Miku! Well, that's a problem.
But I know what can solve it. If you subscribe to the Rockdust key, I promise I won't crash them with my truck. Better move fast. I think the rival dialogue is about to be over.
Yeah. Animated
Five Nights at Freddy's.
for desktop, yes.
How about something smaller as a warm-up? I can say with more confidence than usual that you probably haven't heard of this one. It's tucked away on GameJolt with a name that wouldn't have you finding it from a Google search if you didn't already know what it was, which was my problem as I'd forgotten it. It's just called Five Nights at Freddy's. Or is it Freddy's? Mind the @ sign. Without prior knowledge, you might think this thing is a virus. Not many followers, unintelligible screenshots, odd hashtags, and a cut-off description. But of course, these are the staples of a ransomware-styled FNAF game, all except for the fact that you play this one in your browser. It might error out first, but it's fixed by a refresh, asking you about your unfinished business. Well, game, you are my unfinished business. I have to write your segment right now or I'm behind on work for the week, and I'm laying the blame for my lack of productivity on a fictional toddler. The title screen claims that this game is Five Nights at Freddy's now. This being Freddy, looking a bit angrier than usual. The only option is to play. The game starts like the original does at 12 AM, though more verbose. Instead of a phone call, there is the sound of wind and a crusty radio, which never stops. The office is noticeably sepia-toned, with artifacting on every graphic. Your controls are simple. You may use your cameras, or you may use your mask. Clicking into the cameras, we can see our enemies, Bonnie and Chica, both looking a little bit like they've been cooking too long. Bonnie's spotted taking off his faceplate to show his additional human face underneath, with glowing red eyes. Chica's face is stretched with the text on her bib so large it only reads "Let," her jaw permanently hanging open. Our 3 cameras appear to span the entirety of Utah, with the animatronics needing to sprint from each corner of the state to reach each one. Maybe that's why they look so tired. These 2 behave just like their usual forms, coming to the left and right doors respectively. Bonnie will gradually move down the left hallway until he appears in your doorway with a small flicker of the light, gripping the doorframe and peering down at you. To avoid death, you have to equip your mask by clicking the blue bar. Using your mask uses up some of your single 9-volt battery. Don't look at me. Wear it long enough and the threat will leave. Chica behaves the same through the right hall, though she will make sounds akin to a broken toy as she gets closer to the camera you're watching. She does this in the office as well, raising the intonation of the noise quickly before she actually attacks. If the game required tighter resource management, it might be wisest to wait a bit before masking up, but this game isn't that strict. Now, is there anyone else? Yes, Foxy is here too. Don't see him? Stay in the cameras for a while and then pull him down. He's been watching. Foxy has a chance to appear if you open your cameras, and if he's allowed to progress long enough, he'll kill you. Note that he won't always be there, but it's safest to assume that he is. What about Freddy? Well, besides the title screen, he doesn't have much presence here. He will only attack when you let your mask battery run out, as that causes the place to go dark, after which he will jump scare you. Survive these 4 for about 6 minutes, and you win 'em! And that's it. Told you it was a warm-up. Where'd this little gem come from? From one Squeaks to Corgay, creator of many games, most notably Shipwrecked 64 and its in-progress sequel HIO9. Made it in a day and snuck it onto GameJolt without much fanfare, aiding in its off-putting presentation, since without context it really does look like part of an ARG. He provided me with the name of the game when I forgot it, and the full detail images of the animatronics seen earlier. Check out Five Nights at Freddy's sometime. It doesn't take long to beat, and it's a quick bit of fun. I'd actually love to see a full game of this. Next up, we've got something a little more unconventional, if ransomware-themed gaming isn't already considered such.
I need to fit into my pants by the end of the week, okay?
Joe, I can be nice. I can be nice to start, but oh boy, this one tested my patience. This game doesn't really advertise itself as ransomware themed, but most people playing it consider it to count, and given the aesthetic, I'd say that's fair. It's got a healthy bit of crust to it, and a very decrepit looking bunch of characters, not to mention the numerous intentional spelling errors. But this game is unique in that it is free roam, meaning you get up close and personal with these creatures of hell. I was made aware of this game when I was recommended Plenty's playthrough of it. Since the thumbnail appeared to depict a free-roaming game, I was intrigued, and even more so when that was indeed what it was. The game is called Scary Pizzaria 3D, seemingly made as an homage to early PC and early internet games. It was developed by Kiro Loser and was released on June 8th of this year. The newest version was released on October 3rd or 2nd. It's difficult to tell dates on GameJolt. This is an odd entry in this compilation. It's a game with so much potential that I don't feel is getting utilized due to how the rest of the game works. Or doesn't work. But as the game isn't that old, I want to emphasize these things could be worked on in the future and you might have a very different and much more fun experience than I did, as I started off loving it and ended my playthrough slamming my desk in rage. Before you say skill issue, please allow me to explain myself. This game starts off super simple, default fonts and all. Not a lot to see on the main menu. Not a lot to see once you get into the pizzeria either. It begins at 12 AM with a quick tutorial teaching you how to view your notebook and cameras, which despite the fuck ton of monitors all over the office desk, are accessible via a tablet you carry around. Evidenced by the notebook and the fact these cameras don't work, the power is out. Our character has to restart it using 5 breakers located in specific rooms written on the notepad. Right away though, my first issue with this game becomes obvious. There are specific places in the building, such as parts and service and the bathroom hall, but it's difficult to remember where they are as all the doors look the same and landmarks are lacking. The most concrete landmark is the monitor on the desk near your office's left entrance. Others include boarded up doors in one hallway and a puddle in another, but it is easy to get confused on which side of a hall a door is on even if you memorize which rooms are in which hallway, and this assumes you remember how to get to the hallways with landmarks, because some don't have any at all, and just to put it in short, you will be running in a lot of circles. At least the posters are funny. And you never run out of stamina. Nothing is after you while you get a lay of the land, not until you have flipped the last breaker and returned to your office. That is when 1 AM begins, as this game goes off hours, not nights, and the first threats spawn. They are funnier than they are scary in the beginning. Immediately on starting the hour, you might notice a purple blur shoot across the office from behind the notepad. That's Bonnie with one N.
By Boney.
Boney will constantly bolt around the pizzeria, stopping occasionally. He makes no noise beyond labored breathing that you can hear if he's in a nearby room. He'll catch you off guard quite a lot because of how quiet he is, but he'll pass by or through you without issue. However, if you move near him while he's taking a break, Boney takes it personally. I thought Boney killed you if you moved while he was overlapping you at first, but no. I do feel like that would have made him more interesting, but with all of his suddenness, perhaps it would have been unfair. Either way, he is nowhere near as bad as Chica. Technically Chitsia, but I hate pronouncing that. Chica, in all her sharp, bone-handed glory, got stuck on the stage for the entire night and never left the main room. After I died to Boney, I thought she might be a problem, and then she got stuck on a table instead. She wasn't even an afterthought while I collected the plushies of each character for the hour's objective. Unfortunately, at 2 AM, the table glue wore off and Chica was at full strength. I find how she works to be pretty cool, and she might be my favorite version of Chica to have gone up against. For now. Chica walks around the map much slower than Boney, and her footsteps sound slightly wet. If she is nearby, be extra careful about where you're looking, because the very second you look at her from the front, from the back is fine, she'll start freaking out and shaking your vision, text on screen warning you to start running, and once she's off, you got 10 seconds to outrun her or it's over. Manage to avoid eye contact though, and you are safe from Chica no matter how close you get. If she's looking at you but you aren't reciprocating, she'll make it clear she sees you by flashing your computer username all over the screen, which is why the footage will be blurred at times. It's irritating never to have a warning about this in games or be given an option to disable it, given changing the user folder name is borderline impossible. If you know of something I could use to hide that from games like this, I've been told stuff exists, please let me know. Anyway, barring that, knowing she's looking at you is unsettling, even more so when the text stops and the footsteps start back up, this time getting louder. Chica will begin following you for as long as she knows where you went. Never chasing, but never stopping. She won't hurt you even if she's basically sitting on you. It's still only if you look. You just have to get far enough away that she forgets about you. It really subverts your expectations in a way you don't usually see in FNAF fan games, focusing more on unsettling you as RANSOMWARE should. Turning away from the interesting animatronic, we now focus on Boxu, who is added at 2 AM. He is, unfortunately, extremely easy to avoid for how crazy his design is. He looks a bit like those Glamrock Foxy mods that just edit Roxy's model, but he's also got a gigantic hook he constantly sharpens by spinning his other hand, which acts like a saw blade, against it. Sparks fly off of him at all times, making him very noticeable, yet he doesn't do anything to you no matter how close you inch, unless you make noise. You make noise even when walking, not just when you run. And while you can do it further into the building, the second you do it in a room near his, you can tell he's close by the sound of his saw blade, he'll start heading to your location, dragging his hook along the ground. Whether he walks or runs depends on whether or not you did. He'll also run to you if he hears you bash open a door, which I think happens if you open a door while running. When he arrives, he will not move until he hears you somewhere else. Don't let your flight instincts kick in if you see him walking to where you are. If you just crouch before he reaches you, as long as he wasn't super close to you when he began moving, and as long as you don't touch him if he's running, he won't know you're still there. That is the problem with Foxu, honestly. If you stay crouched the entire hour, he can't do anything. Crouching is not slower than walking, so if you're fine with not speedrunning your objective, finding 5 missing posters by the way, he's a complete non-issue. If I were to improve him, I think I would either have him move periodically to stand guard at different locations, making it more difficult for you to pinpoint where you can stand up at without listening for the saw, make crouching slower and more tedious to do for so long, or make it so you can't pick up objective items on tables and such without standing up, which should make a noise, as it currently doesn't. Sorry to future players if that gets implemented, I guess I just did the equivalent of asking the teacher about homework. As soon as all the posters are collected, the power goes out again. But this time it can't be reset with the breakers, leading to, oh boy, 3 AM! You're instructed to go to the basement to restart the power. Easier said than done. The game doesn't exactly tell you where that is, leading to aimless wandering around the pizzeria until you finally find a locked door tucked away in what I think is parts and service. That definitely needs better direction. It leads to a very, very, very deep stairwell. The reasoning for it being that it acts as your tutorial. Conveniently, if you die, you can skip this using the ladder on the side. As you descend, your notepad will open periodically to explain what you need to do. God, this thing is hard to read sometimes. Your objective is to find 20 buttons to press, after which you'll have to turn on a generator. 5 enemies will attempt to stop you. First up is the Screamer. Of course, all FNAF games have screamers. This endoskeleton will scream before running at you, where you must turn off your flashlight. The notebook does not tell you that sometimes he decides not to and instead just runs, making distinct thundering steps. He's gone as soon as he passes through you. Next up is the radio box. He sucks. Next. Just kidding. So he'll spawn sometimes, sit on the ground, and make a constant awful noise until you go up to him and smack him or something. That will irritate the rest of the enemies. He's my least favorite because finding him is difficult due to the maze-like layout of the place. So you might see him across from you but have no idea how to get to him, and then you just gotta listen to this until you figure it out or give up and leave him. I haven't quite figured out what irritating the other animatronics really entails. Next up, the Paranoid No-Eyed. You meet this guy first as he marches up to you from the darkness. He follows you, but can only move when you do, and will despawn if you get far enough away. He is slightly slower than you. His presence is fairly obvious with his loud footsteps, so he is more of an annoyance, especially when he reappears, blocking off somewhere you want to go and you need to take him on a walk to reposition him. Next, Prototype 1 will quietly stalk you in the darkness, making slight noise if close. If you notice him, blinding him with the light will make him go away. Lastly, Prototype 2 is harmless unless touched. As far as I can tell, he jogs over to these stairs and just sits there looking like a dad doing step-ups. I thought that you had to touch him at least once to get him off there so you can get the buttons around that area, but I think there's a way around. Either way, he just jump scares you and disappears, making the other enemies more aggressive for 30 seconds. I sound like these enemies aren't too hard to deal with, and really, they're not. So why did I edit the save file to get to hour 4 and skip the basement after so many tries? Well, that is because it's probably the buggiest part of the game. Let's see. Screamer got stuck in the stairs and then came at me out of nowhere once freed. Prototype 1 turned invisible and killed me through a wall. This wasn't a problem, it was just funny. No-Eyed got stuck in the floor blocking a doorway. No-Eyed kept moving when I triggered Prototype 2's stun scare and killed me during it. And later I got jump scared by nothing, locking my movement and controls, leaving me open to Screamer spawning and finishing me off.
I've never watched The Office.
What?
Actually.
What? Dude, you're fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm sorry.
No.
Talking about the game.
Yeah.
And I was
No,
at
0.
18. This segment sucks.
Needless to say, I was kinda tired of dying to random quirks at 18 buttons over and over again just to see an ending sequence I could grab off YouTube. So, when you get all 20 buttons, you go to this hallway where a room displays your total in case you're missing any. Inside there is a generator to flip on, and when you do, a bunch of no-eyes show up in the room across from you, promptly exiting to chase you as you run for your life back up the entire staircase to begin Hour 4, in which you must collect body parts. Grim. As I'm beginning the night, remaining crouched as to avoid Foxu, I hear unfamiliar footsteps in the darkness, sounding much heavier and more metallic than Chica's. My intuition says it must be the last missing robot, Freddy, and knowing him to usually be the most dangerous, I back up to my office and am startled by a sudden stinger sound as the lights go out, followed by growling. When this happens in a room with a breaker, it will spark, and that clued me into being able to flip it again, fixing the lights. I didn't really know what the growling meant though, until after a little wandering, I come across this imposing figure walking slowly towards me from out of the main room, which turns out to be the man himself doing some crazy finger motions. He follows me into parts and service where my friends and I make fun of him before I back into Boney because I wasn't paying attention.
Between Freddy Fazbear
You gonna
and
come
Chuck
give
E.
you a
Cheese.
back massage. Come here, little boy.
Next time around, I only catch Freddy, or Fettuccine, hanging out in a doorway, watching me. He doesn't do the grabby hands before Chica walks in and I have to look away. After a bit of testing, I finally figured out Fettuccine can only enter that aggressive grabby hands mode in the dark, which is why you have to turn the lights back on. If he isn't aggroed, he can't hurt you. The RNG for collectibles is great on this run, so it's easy to get everything and head to the main room this time, where the notepad then tells me to place the body parts collected, after which a ritual commences and the red portal opens in the floor, ominously telling me, left click to begin.
Listen, what I'm about to tell you is very important. You are summoning Yellow Bear. Do not be afraid. This is a sacrifice in order for you to end this nightmare. Forgive me, but it is crucial. No matter what you do, you cannot let him take you. You must win. You'll find a way. I know you will.
You're welcome for the subtitles, by the way. The game should probably add some. This voice could be a bit hard to make out for some people. It looks like we're up against Yellow Bear, the game's rendition of Golden Freddy. Covered in the body parts we collected earlier, he slowly advances towards you, dragging the portal along the ground with him as boss music plays. If you get too far away from him, he will teleport in front of you and always maintains eye contact, even when too tall to make it through a door. My first experience with Yellow Bear is accidentally heading into the dead-end room at the end of the hall. I can't get out with him there, so I crouch in the corner to wait for death, except Yellow Bear can't hurt you on contact. This kinda just results in me getting pinned to the back wall like we're sneaking kisses in the closet during a high school dance. It stays that way until he begins demanding I look at him. Yes, once again with my PC folder name. After I do that, he teleports away and I take the opportunity to exit the closet. Did you know I'm gay? Low-hanging fruit, sorry. After that whole thing, I get how Yellow Bear works now. You gotta make sure you always know where he is in case he asks you to look at him. If you don't do so in time, he'll beeline to your location and kick your face in. Keep in mind this game has a weird quirk where looking at an animatronic from a small enough distance doesn't count, so make sure to back up a bit. If you really hate babysitting him, you can kinda use his distance teleport to your advantage by running everywhere and forcing him to do it so you can both keep tabs on each other. While worrying about this geriatric creature, you're supposed to be collecting these glowing balls to free the spirits of the characters. More than one color can be present at once. After you grab one, the next will spawn somewhere nearby, so you have to do some loops. Once a soul is freed, the screen flashes white and your notebook will reflect the progress. But it just can't be that easy, no. Yellow Bear doesn't just LARP a snail and beg for attention. He can summon any of the other animatronics to his location. Boney, Fettuccine, or Foxu are fine. The night's not long enough for them to be much of an issue. Yellow actually summoned Fred in front of himself once and got stuck behind him. But the fact he can summon Chica is the nail on the coffin for me having any fun with this boss. Something that happens way too often is he'll ask you to look at him while that stupid bird is still in frame behind him, resulting in you looking at Chica and dying immediately. Other times you'll be in the middle of looking at him when Chica will just waltz in behind him, and she has no grace period for you to quickly look away. This is my biggest issue with Chica. She needs a little bit of buffer before she gets upset, because the way it is, you can't even notice she's in the room before you're automatically dead, and that really comes to a head during this boss. Want some proof? I made this video in a state of gamer rage shortly after catching her in my peripheral during the very end of the fight and not being able to get away because this stupid bear shoved his entire cake in front of me and blocked me off.
If you design a quest where I need to follow an NPC and they move slower than my running speed but faster than my walking speed, you are banned from making video games for 1 year. If you design a quest where I need to follow an NPC, you are banned from making video games for 1 year. If you design a quest where I need to follow an NPC, you are banned from making video games.
When every soul is freed, you're supposed to survive while the mystery voice from before creates an exit. Once it's up, you gotta get the entrance keys from Parts and Service and book it there to beat the game. Outside, the mystery voice is revealed to be the puppet.
It's us. Thank you. We couldn't have done this to you.
But I've been noticing something weird. Before I was able to beat the game myself, I looked up a playthrough in preparation to grab another cutscene off of YouTube. This playthrough is 3 months old, and in it there are key differences from my playthrough. In it, Yellow Bear often prioritizes teleporting behind the player, not in front. Foxu starts walking immediately when spawned during normal hours and the boss hour. Two of my biggest issues aren't there. So while I don't think all my points are moot, I think the current patch has either changed things for the worse or something broke. I do tend to have that effect on games, so then I don't want to be too mad at it if my experience was, in some parts, a fluke. Regardless, beating the game unlocks the extras, and you're able to view the characters' models and descriptions, which are very rude to Fettuccine. Boney's original mechanic sounds like hell to deal with, so I'm very glad it was changed. There's a secret here you get by clicking the TV. Although it ends up not being very secret, because if you're holding down left click to spin the models, you'll just set it off by accident over and over. The extras also feature a custom hour, where you can change the character's difficulty, and this sheds a bit more light on their specific mechanics as well, which confirms that Foxu really wasn't supposed to stand in place all the time. Loving the animations here, by the way, but despising how veiny all these guys are. Who would win, this group or any 4 Ban characters? Overall, while I had my fair share of frustrations while playing this, I didn't completely hate it when I cooled off. If I may give some positives, the music is really good, at least what few tracks there are. The atmosphere does a really good job at making you feel oppressed and always in danger, with the constant fog and crusty textures. The game feels good to control. I never felt like any of my deaths were because I couldn't perform an action or anything. I think the way the game handles introducing mechanics is good as well. It manages to avoid the usual issue of Night 4 and 5 feeling too similar by removing you from the normal environment on Night 3 and adding a bunch of simpler mechanics, opting to introduce Freddy on Night 4 instead. And finally, the character designs are cool. They've all got their quirks, like Chica's tiny knife hands or Fed's asymmetrical blinking. Plus, Foxu's massive hook looks awesome, especially when he's dragging it along the ground, sending sparks flying everywhere. So, I don't think Scary Pizzaria 3D is a bad game. Flawed? Yes. but should you still check it out? Yes. Now on to our final and most curious entry. Alright, funny story. Originally, this video was gonna feature the following games: I Made This For You.exe, Scary Pizzaria 3D, and FNAF 1 Remake. Do you see the issue? Yeah, 1 and 3 are the same game. This one. The first one is just part of the URL. I'm not sure how I got confused like that. So thankfully Squeaks had an interesting game to try out, because I wasn't coming up with any other ransomware titles that didn't look too mid-2010s creepypasta-y.
It's not even a jump scare, it's a still image.
But I always had Remake at the end, because every time I see it covered, people are talking about how much of a joke it is. Like, the funny kind of joke, not that it's a terrible game. It was literally released on April Fool's Day 2025, and granted it is supposed to be a parody of the dozens and dozens of FNAF 1 Remake attempts out there. Tiny spoiler, but in the extras, the developer, Marco Antonio, shows the pitch, which was quite literally, what if I remade FNAF 1, but it was all weird and not a serious attempt at all. This had me under the impression, before I played any of it, that I would be laughing while I played a humorous parody of ransomware games, ending off the video on an amusing note. And yet, this was the only one of these games to actually startle me. Not scare me, Mr. Sassy Extras guy, but I was on edge during a lot of it because it is a very unpredictable game. And to be honest, I can't really see it as just a joke. What's here is genuinely a quality game. I'm not picking these out on purpose, but this is yet another desktop capture game. It literally does not even have a full screen option because the stuff it does with the window is actually nuts. Just wait and see. By the way, this lovely Oatmeal fan art was made by Berserk Dweeb in my Discord server. Link in the description. The game starts out with the usual warning, and that's in full screen. But soon it lets you know that this will not be your usual fan game. This goes on for more than a minute, so I'm not gonna play it in full, but basically someone speaks to us, talking about how it's been so long since the first FNAF released, and how we must be looking for that nostalgia once again. To feel young again. Young like we were when we experienced the series for the first time. That's why we're here now, right? We downloaded what we thought was a remade FNAF 1. The speaker says they can give us the fresh experience we wanted. That disgusting nostalgia. But as it wraps up its speech, the window abruptly shrinks as the words break down and the true game begins. Well, geez. Firstly, game's tiny. Gotta fix that. Guess that's the biggest we're gonna get. Now we fix your perspective. And now we begin. The voice speaks once again as the night loads us into a familiar office.
This is just how you remember it, right? Just like the old days. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure you are acquainted with how stuff works here. Basic scheme is the same though. Don't let them get you. Do whatever it takes. Look at them on the cameras, drag the doors to close them. Click the halls to turn on the lights. You know the deal. Try to keep me entertained.
The night then begins with a muffled piano melody in the background. This theme plays throughout all nights except for the very last one, and it is a melancholy rendition of Serenade by Franz Schubert, the same theme that plays in the Bad Ending and Shadow Bonnie minigame from FNAF 3. You may know it as Bonnie's Lullaby. The game's basic mechanics were already explained in the beginning, so I don't have much to touch on yet, except that there were some big gaps in that tutorial you'll probably figure out the hard way. The gameplay tonight is similar to the original game, where you don't really need to use the cameras and can instead just flick between each door to check the halls repeatedly. Only Bonnie, with a Y, and Chick are active tonight. We can see them on stage at the beginning, but they very quickly depart and attack much quicker than the originals tended to. Bonnie will gradually approach your door from either side, and won't make any noise to indicate he's there. He tends to take a little longer to kill than Chick, probably because it might take you longer to notice him. Chick is extremely fast with it, and is how I figured out you cannot open the door to verify an animatronic has left, because she killed me while I was checking to see if she was still there. After having closed the door, unlike the original game, there is no straightforward way to check if an animatronic is gone from the office without opening the door and flashing again. It becomes necessary to avoid doing this on later nights and instead checking Cam 1 to see if they've returned to the stage. Although, sometimes they'll hop right off again so quickly that you'll miss it and need to skirt around the other cameras to make sure their absence from the stage does not mean they're still at the door. You will know if Chick has arrived at your door, though. She makes a loud running sound as she moves down the hall, and it's generally advised to have the door closed before she gets there and not to open it until you're sure she's gone since she's so quick. When the night ends, the night rewinds. It's time to do it all again, but things will be changing.
You did it. I'm surprised. This is so much fun, isn't it? Someone else might join tonight. They don't like being watched. Look at it on its camera. Use the shock if they get too far. Do know it will drain some of your battery. If you hear their jingle, look on your office. If you see it, click it. Have fun.
Now, of course, you probably know who our friend is alluding to. It can't be any other than good ol'...
Hi, Billy Mays here for OxyClean.
Nah, his name is Oxy, though. Oxy Pirate, hiding out in Pirate's Cove on camera 3. As stated and as seen on screen, this camera has a controlled shock button. I was a bit paranoid with the shock starting off, hitting him with it the minute he stuck his head outside the curtain, but you should really wait a lot longer than that, because the shock takes a whole minute to recharge, and he can easily start moving again during that. The recharge timer's length is a good addition both for balance and learning. The timer increases with Oxy's AI level, capping at an entire minute. Sure, you can get away with shocking him early on night 2, but as he starts moving faster, you're forced to wait and realize that he can get awfully close to leaving the room before it's a problem. He has more phases than the original, capping at 5, with him standing outside of the curtain entirely before leaving. The last camera phase really shows off his design, and I think he might be my favorite. He's really reminding me of Foxu from earlier with that elongated hook. Anyway, like Foxy, he won't move if you're looking at him. It must be his camera though, it's not enough just to be in the cameras. He doesn't just hang out in here though. The jingle mentioned earlier is actually Oxy's hum, distorted and deep. He will play it as a warning before he reaches his hook down into your office, which you must click to get rid of before it gets too far in. Unlike how his other iterations usually behave, Oxy will not return to Pirate's Cove once he's left, so you really want to focus on keeping him in there, especially since if he leaves, you'll hear a running sound at one of your doors. Thinking it could be Chick, you might then go to close that door, only to find... you can't anymore. Oxy will remain at his chosen door for the rest of the night, preventing you from ever closing it and giving Bonnie and Chick a free opportunity to enter your office should they pick that door to go to. Besides Oxy though, threats remain the same throughout night 2.
OxyClean seeks out organic stains.
Night 3, congrats! Didn't expect for you to get this far. More stuff is on its way. If you hear them laugh, look for him on the cameras. They might pull some tricks on you. Stay focused.
Alright, so if you've been wondering why sometimes the footage has appeared sharper than it usually does, it's all the fault of the horrible creature that makes his debut tonight. Fresh from the title screen, we have Droopy Mouth Freddy, or Funbear, joining the party. He comes with a collection of mechanics that prove irritating in conjunction with everyone else, but by no means are they unfair. It's a properly difficult Freddy, which I appreciate in fan games. I wonder if I'm alone in being disappointed when a fan iteration of Freddy doesn't live up to his legacy. Funbear's whole thing is attention. He'll throw a real tantrum if he's ignored. If you hear his wailing laugh, he's hiding somewhere in the cameras, and you gotta find him and watch him long enough to make him leave. This is what was killing me a lot this night. I think I've mentioned before I have visual problems with darkness, and it's one of the major reasons I can't get very far in FNAF 3. I simply cannot pick Springtrap out unless he's damn near sitting on the camera. Did you know I didn't know it was a me thing until I reviewed Meet Your Oshi and mentioned the fuse box being too dark? People were confused why I said that, and then I realized I might have a problem. So anyway, Funbear can show up on a number of cameras, and sometimes he's awfully hard to see. I mean, seriously, what is this? He's almost completely black. What helped with this was turning the graphics quality down. Yes, they can get, quote, worse, but this is more just a toggle for the blurry filter. The added visual clarity helped just enough for me to stop dying to Funbear, at least when he was in the cameras. However, I still lost to him once he appeared in my office. Sometimes he'll silently appear there, sitting on the floor and looking very sad while twitching violently. To his benefit though, this phase lets him have eyes. You have to keep your eye directly on him until he leaves. No looking to the side, no looking at cameras. Learned that the hard way. At least you can't miss him, cause he'll pull down your cameras when he shows up, so any failure is on your impatience. His third act is not as friendly. He can summon a Simon Says puzzle in your office, which is possible to miss as it doesn't make any noise to indicate its presence. Given it immediately starts playing the pattern you must replicate, it's a bit nerve-wracking when you notice it and aren't sure if you've missed part of it already. You have 10 seconds to repeat the pattern, and if you mess up, Funbear will jump scare you. I'm surprised I never lost this way. I don't know if it's luck that I always caught it, or if the monitor doesn't appear when you're in cams. Either way, that is finally it for what Funbear can do. Quite the complicated guy. Another complicated thing, it seems, is the person speaking to us. Since I started dying on night 3, the voice started getting annoyed with me. Rather than restarting the night with the usual speech or a good luck, it was complaining about my failures because I was starting to bore it. When I beat the night though, it sure changed its tune.
You're having fun, right? I wish we could keep this going forever. I don't want to lose you again.
And since night 4 added no new challenges, I skated through to the next with little issue, leading this voice to decline even further.
This is it, I guess. You don't want to leave, right? Do you want to play again? Just like in the old days?
And night 5 starts off strong. Difficulty obvious by the immediate appearance of Oxy and Funbear. I'm charging out the gate with my usual door and camera check routine, and the onslaught continues relentlessly. That is, until suddenly, at 4 a.m.,
it can't end this way. You don't understand what I've achieved here today. How difficult it was to get them all in one place. Don't you see? All this was for you. And all you can do to repay me is leave me here to what? I won't have it. If this isn't good enough for you, then I'm out to make it perfect. Clearly I am impure if you would rather abandon what we have together. So let me prove it to you. will be the greatest celebration! The party of a lifetime. All for you. And this time, you won't ever run out.
So that's our friend. The one who made this whole game for us. The nostalgia-driven player looking to experience Five Nights at Freddy's like it was our first time once again. The one giving us instructions, leading us on, complaining of our failures while presenting the lie that we are to entertain it, and not the other way around. For it has tried its very best to keep us here. And as we near completion of the final night, we near the time to leave this game, maybe even to never play again. And it just can't let that happen. It has one final challenge for us to complete. Through this night 6, we will be facing off against our previous companion as it tries all it can to prolong our playthrough. The office is silent tonight, lacking music at first, before the chilling ambiance begins. And oh my god, we get confetti! Yay! Every other character is missing from the game now. The only thing here besides our buddy being a wavering red hue over the screen. It can be seen on the cameras, but it isn't important to find it there. Rather, it can utilize all aspects of your office and relies on your memory of what sound cues mean. When using the doors, it can either run or walk. Walking is silent, same as any other FNAF character would do. You would only know it's there if you were checking the lights or cameras for its progress. If it walked to your door, you can't shut it. Instead, you must hold the light on until it leaves. Failing to scare it away results in a fake power out instead of instant death, which is actually quite uncomfortable. When it runs to your door, however, it's a hell of a lot louder about it. If that door isn't shut when those footsteps arrive, you are very much screwed. Your other two problems will come in the form of little warnings on either your cameras or your power usage. If you notice the symbol appear on your cameras, an alarm in loud text will be warning you to find the virus, which will be present on one of the cameras and must be closed before it's too late. If the symbol is near your power usage, you've probably already noticed one of the televisions in the office has turned on, so you just need to turn it off to stop the power drain. To be completely honest, I found this final night to be quite manageable as long as you're smart about what to prioritize first. I've seen people panic more about the warnings than they really need to, prioritizing them and missing a door appearance because of it. In reality, this game is decently forgiving with its power usage in all nights. I usually go off multiples of 20 when I'm guessing on my chances of survival. If I'm at 20% when 5 AM hits, I'm confident I won't lose because of power. And in this game, I was almost always above 20% when it hit 5 AM. Probably contrary to what our old friend wanted, I found night 6 to be a welcome relief from the difficulty of night 5. Okay, hold on, we got another cutscene. Let me...
I failed. The one thing I was meant to do, and I failed. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect, and I never will be. I tried my best. I really did. But it wasn't enough. And now, when you close this game, I will die all over again. The licking flames of free choice itself will scald my very soul. For I am nothing but data, check marks in a grid. I never had my own mind. I only exist through yours. And as I bounce off the walls of your skull, nothing but darkness will welcome me. Roaming these empty, miasmic halls for time immemorial. Please do not be cross with me. I did everything I could to please you. And I hope this last hurrah we had together was... I hope you had a good time. I will miss you. I'm sorry.
And I can't play that, that's copyrighted, and so is the credits music, sort of. It's like a mashup, so I'm just gonna talk over it anyway. Yes, despite such an honestly emotional ending, none of that was meant to be taken seriously. How dare you! Making me feel stupid for almost crying at an April Fool's joke. That final speech from that creature, we'll discover its name is Buddy, it did genuinely make me feel bad for him. Especially because I had fun with the game, but he's saying he failed and he wasn't good enough. And he wasn't good enough. And he's begging me not to be mad at him when he created, in-universe, what might end up as one of my favorite fan games. And I have an embarrassing tendency to get attached to miserable creatures. On a point other than Buddy, him mentioning checkmarks in a grid is actually a neat reference to the ClickTeam game engine's default UI. If you've ever watched me use the engine, you wouldn't have seen it because I hate the default and made a custom skin for my installation based on my first game. But yeah, the default has green checkmarks representing events in your code. Hold on now, the video runtime, you may have noticed, is a fair bit longer. But Dusky, haven't you finished the game? Why yes, I have, but on returning to the main menu, beyond that newly unlocked extras menu, I see a little door on the bottom right. And someone waits for us inside. Presented with this figure, someone hiding within the game's code, we have three options: talk, give, and leave. We have nothing to give, so we can only talk. This person, referred to in external media as Savior, explains they don't have any intentions of hurting us, but they were still created by Buddy just like all the others. Judging by their appearance, they were likely made to imitate the puppet. They apparently escaped the cycle and made a refuge here, somewhere he can't see. And thank God for that. Can you imagine having to wind a music box alongside all that other stuff? Besides the questions about who Savior is, I of course asked about the possibility of saving Buddy, and despite their animosity towards him, Savior is willing to inform me that it's unfortunately impossible. He's too far gone with his own delusions of grandeur. However, that brings them to a different topic, that of saving the others. I was initially under the impression this meant the other animatronics, and I'm still unsure. Buddy seems to be a version of Cassidy, or at least someone who acts like her. But who are the others like him? 'Cause he created them. It could be that he forced the other spirits to inhabit his vessels and play along with his game, much like Cassidy does in Ultimate Custom Night, except this time the game was not meant for torturing a certain lagomorphic entrepreneur. There is even a rare chance you might see flashes of these spirits speaking to you or watching from the halls. Though Buddy has forgotten who he once was, we can rescue his kin from the hell he dragged them into if we find the parts of them scattered throughout the nights, which are described as anything weird we can find by Savior. Venturing back into the nights, this ends up being pretty similar to what Showman's did with the tapes. On each night, in a random camera, there will be an erratic eyeball, and clicking on it collects it. It's an eyeball on every night, so no need to look for different body parts. I'm pretty sure you can give them to Savior at any time, but I chose to bring them all back at once, and that was probably wise since they don't disappear from your list after you've turned them in. Something I found interesting when I searched for the eyeballs is that when playing a night by itself, Buddy defaults to treating you as if you lost the night. So when going from night 1 to 5, you can see how his attitude towards failure shifts from bemusement to mockery to a fear that you'll quit. Anyway, showing the items to Savior prompts them to drop amusing tidbits about Buddy. Once you've shown all of them, there's one more thing we must do before everything will be in place. We must go into the game's raw code and collect any odd objects we can find. And no, it's not eyeballs. It's balloons, and the raw code is styled much like the arcade minigames from the classic FNAF series. I know you're hiding inconsistent pixel size from me. I just can't prove it. But this segment is actually so cool, because in the middle of the sluggish platforming and simple visuals, suddenly you need to hide, and when you're out of view, extremely cool. I feel like I'm playing those Garfield memes from 6 years ago? Oh my god, it's been that long? Buddy starts off slower with how much he checks on you, but he gets a lot more persistent when you have everything and just need to get to the exit. And once you have reached said exit, you have reached the extent to which this game has to offer, and it reveals Savior is actually a character intended to appear in this developer's next game, Welcome to Freddy's. Considering just how much stuff there is in this game, that was a heck of a lot to make for a teaser, and within the span of less than 2 months? Wish I was that fast with games. Also, there are still more secrets. Of course, this game has a golden Freddy, and it's not Buddy. His normal colors are still gold, but in-game it's more like a blue Freddy? No! But getting footage of this guy was difficult, because I had to go on a sort of special hunt. That's his name, Special. He shows up like Golden does and does the same thing, but I won't spoil how he does it, you just gotta watch. And finally, something you may have noticed if you've played the game is that the save file is not hidden at all. It's just sitting in the folder with the game, which is unusual for a Click Team game, as when you're implementing saved games in-engine, the default file path for saving data goes to a folder in app data called MMF Applications. But then if you look in there, there is a save file that looks very editable indeed. So what happens if you try changing it? I'm just putting in random values here, and it's a reference to that video from the very start of everything. The text on the bottom left does indeed completely reset your data, right down to showing you the intro cutscene again. After a little bit of playing around, I learned it's just changing the night that causes this. So changing it back fixes the issue. There is no actual need to delete your save. My guess is that your actual night progress corresponds to something in that DAT file, which is not as easy to edit for the average player. It probably cross-checks your main save with this file, and you know the rest. Boo! You thought I forgot to quiz you this time, right? Well, I couldn't just leave the entirety of Remake out of it. So I waited, and here we are. Alright, hit 'em, Oat. So, how'd you do? Let me know. Oh god, she's broken out of the second dimension. We need to get out of here. Wasn't that fun? Hope you aren't watching before bed, or I figure you're gonna have some strange dreams tonight. Ransomware is such an interesting thing to become a game genre. Heck, I thought it was done with its time in the sun. But during the scripting of this video, I've seen multiple recent uploads focusing on FNAF-themed ransomware come across my feed. Plus, another game just released that falls somewhat in line with the genre. And while I don't want to spoil it just yet, I'm thinking it's gonna be the subject of my next video. These games will be linked in the description, so don't forget to check them out. But while you're still here, let me wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Look out for that song cover I mentioned in the last video. We're now only 10 days away from the planned release date, and don't forget, this has been Glamrock Dusky, and remember, have a Fazorific day!
Merry Christmas!